Today, we're going to be talking about the art of timing. And the timing that we're talking about is comedic timing. What makes one person so funny, but yet somebody else doesn't quite deliver the humor the right way, which makes them unfunny? And this is for our second genre, which is comedy. The first thing I want to talk about is pace. When you're talking about timing and acting or in a movie, the pace is the speed at which a scene progresses. You might hear the expression pick up the pace. What that means is speed up, but you also might need to slow down the pace depending on how you want information to be delivered. A director might tell you to speak a line really, really quickly or to slow it down. I know personally, as a director, I constantly have to ask my students to slow down. When we get nervous, we tend to speed up and speak really, really fast. And if we're trying to get information out there with our words, we won't be able to understand someone who's speaking really fast. You might know from personal experience with teachers, some teachers that speak really, really fast, it might be harder to obtain the information that they're trying to give. So when you are working on comedy, it's all about pace. A joke might be funnier at a faster pace, but if it's too fast, the joke goes right over our head. So a director might ask you to say it at a slower pace. But if it's too slow, the joke can fall flat as well. A tempo is the rhythm of a scene. Somebody says a line, another person says a line. Somebody says a line, another person says a line. So it works like a tempo. Think like music, rhythm, how a scene moves along. A cue is a line or other event on or off stage that tells actors to do or say something. The most commonly used cue is action. However, a cue is not always going to be an action. It could be somebody saying something, or it could be, achoo! Did you want to say bless you? Saying bless you is called a social cue, meaning in life, some things happen that prompt you to do or say something else. So if you're walking past someone on the street and they say good morning, that's your cue to say good morning back. We might say someone is bad at social cues if we say to them good morning and they don't respond. It can come across a little bit awkward. So we tend to do what is natural, which is if someone sneezes, you say bless you or gesundheit, or if someone says good morning or hi, you say something back. Picking up cues means it refers to an actor and technicians, whether it's a camera person, sound person, so on, refers to actors and technicians doing their jobs without pauses that could pull the energy down. What that means is if I'm watching a play or a musical that's live, if somebody drops their cue, meaning they forget to either say the line or do the thing they're supposed to do, which tells the actor to do the next thing, the energy could be really up. The scene's going really well. We're watching this great thing. And then somebody forgets their line. The energy drops down. Now, if you do what you're supposed to do, that means you're picking up your cue. You are doing your part to move the scene forward. Cut in is when a character interrupts another character's line with their own. I can't see here. Okay, so a cut in is when a character interrupts another character's line with his own line. So I'm going to be playing both parts. So for example, the boy says, "What do you want to do tonight?" It says, "Girl, cutting in. I don't think we should be friends anymore." So it might sound a little more like this. What do you want to do tonight? I don't think we should be friends anymore. Normally in the script, it says cutting in or cuts in. Otherwise, a director might prompt you to do that. Why would somebody cut in? Maybe the girl's sitting there and she's like, I have this really awkward thing to say, but I don't know how to say it, so I just blurt it out. Okay, so it gives the character an extra kind of underlying emotion that's happening during the scene. A cut off is a line which ends abruptly without being completed. They're usually denotated with a dash at the end of the last word. For example, same scene. Boy, what do you want to, girl, I don't think we should be friends anymore. So this is harder for me to do as one person, but with cutting in, the boy actually finished his line, as you can see here, but with cut off, the line isn't finished and the girl just cuts him off. So you do need to pay attention to those kind of things when you're doing a scene, because you don't want to not do what the script says. Fade off is a line which drifts off without being completed. This is usually denoted with an ellipsis, which is that ... Boy, what's wrong? Girl, I just didn't think you would ever... Dramatic. Drama. Why does a character fade off? Maybe whatever she has to say is just too painful for her to say it, so she fades off. Overlap. This is a method in which lines or part of lines are said simultaneously by different characters. Obviously, this is going to be hard for me to convey by myself, but it would be like, hey, hey, and then at the same time they say, I'm sorry. So it could either say both or it could say boy and girl, but the characters, in order to get the timing right, need to make sure they say it at the same time. And this is something that has to be worked on in rehearsal, because if you don't say it at the same time, it's not going to come off correctly. Top is when an actor says his or her line immediately after the end of his cue line. No gap is left between the two lines. For example, will you marry me? Yes! Okay, she jumps on top of his line. Why do you think this could be? Do you think she's excited to marry this person? Yes. It would be a lot different if it was like, will you marry me? Yes. Is that person excited to get married? Not really. They had to think about it. That's probably the worst nightmare, when you propose to someone and they think about it. Not what you want. Holding for laughs. This is really important in comedy. This is the process by which an actor pauses after a funny line while the laughter from the audience lessens. All actors remain in character. If you say something funny, you want to give people a chance to laugh before you continue. Now, this would make more sense in a live theater situation. So when I'm directing my students in plays, I try to tell them, if you deliver this line correctly, you will get a laugh. Do not continue the scene until the laughter dies down. Because if you continue saying the lines while the audience is laughing, you're going to lose a lot of what's being said because they're busy laughing, they're not listening. Also, what you need to be prepared for is they may not laugh. So if you hold for a laugh and you notice that it's completely silent, you need to keep going, because we talked about earlier, if there's any kind of pause or silence, it can bring down the energy, and that is not what we want. We want to keep people at the edge of their seats wanting more. What we don't want is them sitting back, getting bored, and then checking their phones. That's not what we want. Pause is a period of silence that is used to convey a deeper meaning than the lines of capable of doing. So this goes back to that other proposal where the man says, "Will you marry me?" Yes. Not the answer you want. You want the top where she's like, "Yes. Oh, yes." That's the kind of response that you want. But the pause tells us there's a deeper meaning there. We want to know more. Why wasn't she quick to say yes? So then we're invested in the scene. Dead space is uncomfortable silence that is attributed to poor timing or memorization or bad breathing. So dead space is that awkward silence. Wasn't that awkward? And sometimes it's because the timing is off. Sometimes it's because the person forgot their line, or it says bad breathing. What that means is someone who's not breathing correctly is going to run out of air, and then they're caught trying to catch their breath. Dead space, energy sucked down, and that's bad. Building a scene is the act of pacing the scene so it keeps the audience eager for more. It has a beginning, a climax, and an ending. Every scene you watch, not the entire movie, every single scene, every part of the movie, there should be a beginning, a climax, and an ending. Because what that does is it makes the audience want to watch more. And that's why when we're watching a movie that's 2 hours long, we don't turn it off after 15 minutes because we're bored. We keep wanting to see what happens next. Beats. I know it sounds kind of strange. Beats are a section of a scene that stand apart from another. A scene is usually made up of several beats. Beat is another word for a pause. Will you marry me? Beat. Yes. So again, in that beat, there's some kind of emotion, there's something going on there that we want to know more about. Covering. Covering means it's what actors do when another actor makes a mistake. So it says the method actors use to hide mistakes in a scene. If a line is forgotten, another actor can say the line, or it can be fed to the person who forgot. Lines might even be made up. When it's done right, the audience never knows there was a problem. Covering can be a little bit dangerous. You definitely want to give the actor a chance to say their line. You don't want to cover too quickly. Maybe they're making a pause for an emotional maybe they're taking a pause for an emotional reason, and we don't want to take that away from them. But if you can really tell, like maybe they look at you like, I don't know my line, then you can either feed it to them, meaning, "Oh, golly, I wonder where so-and-so is." And then they're like, okay, that reminds them of their line. Or you can just say the line. If you do it in a way that makes sense, the audience never knows there was a problem. Adlib means to make up lines as the scene progresses. You want to be really careful with ad-libbing. If you're a fan of Will Ferrell and his comedy, he does a lot of ad-libbing, meaning he'll do a scene 10 times, he'll say it differently 10 times, and then the director decides which one they like the best. You always need to check with your director before you decide to ad-lib something, because some directors and some writers are very strict and they want exactly what's in the script. They don't want a single word to be changed. So if you decide to ad-lib something, you always need to check with the director first, because a problem that can happen is either they can make people laugh, break character, which is funny when you're watching bloopers, but it can be really frustrating for a director who's trying to make a scene happen. And another thing that can happen is you can totally confuse everybody And then the scene falls apart because nobody knows what you're talking about, what to say back, or what's even going on. So ad-libbing can be really funny, or it can be a complete disaster. So always check with your director. And that was our last term. So this is the art of timing. You want to think about how fast you're saying something. You want to think about when you're saying something. Are you saying it on top? Are you saying it interrupting? Are you fading off? Are you saying what you really mean, or is there something underlying? I hope you enjoyed this presentation. If you have any questions, let me know.